Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I sure appreciate it. Now, today is the November energy update. This is a very interesting one. I'm excited to share it with you. And Spirit really wanted to talk about the polarity of the world that we're seeing right now and the way in which we move through it. Really is... what was their word? They were saying the way in which you choose to move through the world depends on the perspective you desire to keep, which is very true. Sometimes that's easier said than done, but this is really what they wanted to bring in. And the reason why is when they first started bringing me the concepts for November, I was like, oh, okay, this is positive and this is positive and this is positive. And I said, but what about the things that we're seeing in the world? Like, what about the hard things that we're seeing in the world? And they said we could absolutely talk about the turmoil because yes, there will be more turmoil. We could absolutely talk about the death because yes, there will be more death in different ways. They said we could definitely talk about those things, but what that does is it feeds into the fear narrative, which does not in any way benefit your planet. Instead, what we want to do is feed into the narratives of peace, of higher thought, of consciousness, and talk about the things that we can focus our energy on that do benefit us. So it doesn't mean turning a blind eye to the things that are happening, but rather embracing the energy of change and focusing that change in the direction you want to go. So that regardless of what you're seeing unfolding, you still have the other side polarity to hold on to keep you grounded and moving forward in a way that does benefit the planet. And so I thought that was really interesting and a very good response on their part, truly. So yes, there will be more things that we're going to see show up kind of on the world stage, but there is also a lot that we can do about it because as we know, the ripples that we create from our actions are getting bigger and bigger the higher we open our consciousness. So we are having a bigger effect every single day. And so this is really where Spirit is coming from in this November energy update. This update is about you specifically. So one of the first things they wanted to say is to take a moment to reflect on everything that October brought up for you. So we are just finishing the energies now, coming off the energies of the eclipse. We're moving through the energies of Halloween, which can be very fun. Again, you can take the energy of Halloween and make it very dark and ominous, or you can take the energy of Halloween and go a little deeper, root into the magic and the mystery that is available and the joy that can come from that energy as well. So in terms of October, as you ponder this, depending on when you're listening to this, think about what did October reveal to you? And that's the key word, what was revealed? Because retrospect in this case is one of the best teachers. When you go back and you review what has happened, what came up, what left your life, what changes showed up for you, you can make sense of maybe where you're going now or why. Retrospect is the greatest teacher here. So Spirit said, really notice what was revealed and also notice what was successful for you. Because in that part, they showed me in my mind a Six of Wands card in tarot. Now, Six of Wands card in tarot is all about kind of completions and very much on a worldly scale. Completions that we still have to move through. It doesn't mean everything is completely over, but you've reached a milestone. So it's kind of like a milestone piece. What milestones did you reach, did you achieve in October? Because in that, there is so much power for you to pull from. Now that leads me into their second point. November is about recalibration and refueling your energy, refueling your life force energy, because October took a lot of energy out of all of us. There was so much, whether you got caught up in the metaphorical tornado energy, or if you were able to hold yourself steady in the middle of it and not be stuck in the spin, both of those still took a lot of energy. So there was a lot of energy depletion in October, a lot of life force drain, and a lot of mental strain on everybody, just in thoughts, in things being shown to us, in choices, decisions, all of that kind of stuff. October was a lot. And so November, it's really valuable to take some time to refuel your energy. And they showed it to me kind of like repacking your backpack. So like if you're on this really long hike and then you have to stop into town and restock all the things in your backpack, right? Or maybe you view it like a big Costco trip where you go and you get all of the stuff and you restock your pantry and your house so that when you look at it, you're like, I'm good, right? It's refueling. Do what you need to do that. So for some of you, refueling might look like activity, like it's an active refueling, whereas others it might be rest. So however that is for you, there's a recalibration that needs to happen right now and a refueling. And that really does go hand in hand with the retrospect of reviewing what happened in October. It all plays in. So for some of you, it might be very clear messages, very clear, concise understandings, and you're like, it all makes sense, moving forward. Others, it might not make sense, but you know a lot happened. You know a lot transpired. And so in that, you might need some time to just sort of sit with it. Just be with the energy. Allow it space until it's ready to settle, kind of like mud in a glass of water. It just needs time to settle to the bottom before you can see clearly again. So something to consider with that. October was a lot. November is going to ask you to refuel and recalibrate. And the energetics of November are really going to support that with the clarity as well. So there's a lot supporting our growth in November. Again, there will still be other things that we see that maybe we don't want to see or hear about, or losses we don't want to have. But in general, the cosmic energies, the astrology is going to support us a little bit more in a softer way in November than it did in October. Now, the next thing Spirit wanted to say is this, you know what, honestly, this does follow, and it really is a part of the recalibration and refueling, is to get out of your head. And with this one, they showed me the Eight of Swords tarot card, which is all about like mental strain, chaos, and confusion, but that you're placing on yourself. So ruminating thoughts that you're placing on yourself. Worrying about things that you, that you cannot control, that you cannot change. Stressing about things. Self-imposed stress is really the word. Excuse me. This is what Spirit wanted to bring up, that however you can release yourself to the energies so that you can sit in peace, because nothing can be solved in chaos. You cannot see clearly in your path when you're sitting in stress and fear and chaos. You need peace to be able to see clearly, to think clearly, to intuit with more clarity. It's very hard to intuit under stress and duress. So wherever you can, try and get out of your head and try and catch yourself. If you're noticing that your mind is spinning, are you doing anything that amplifies that spin? Right? There may be something in your world that was triggered and it wasn't by you, but it triggered you. But are you doing things that amplify it, or are you doing things to kind of turn the stressor down? And something as simple, this is just an example that popped into my head. If you have a lot of stress and anxiety right now, and if you were really sensitive to caffeine, having 5 cups of coffee probably isn't going to help the situation. Right? Something that is more grounding for you. And in that case, probably a meal that has lots of like potatoes or heaviness to it that helps you connect to the earth might actually bring you way more grounding and clarity, right? Something simple, but are your actions supporting clarity, or are they amplifying the chaos? Because you actually do sit in such a control seat of that regardless of the triggers. It's the little things that can make such a big difference. All right, now the next thing they wanted to talk about was how impactful taking action in adding kindness to your day is. And what they showed me is if you were to give yourself a challenge of, in November, you would do one conscious act of kindness every day, just one. And I know that many of you do many naturally, and you probably just don't even think about it. It's just part of who you are. But if you add even more consciousness to that, and you choose one conscious act of kindness. And maybe it is as simple as consciously holding the door open for somebody. Maybe it is when you're getting coffee at a drive-through and you pay for the person behind you. Maybe that's one day, right? It doesn't have to be every day. Maybe it's complimenting somebody. Maybe your thing is, I'm going to compliment one person every day that I don't know, one stranger. Something like that. When we go around and drop these little droplets of kindness in the world around us in random ways, the ripple of that is so big, so incredibly big. And the ripple of that has such a big impact on the person in which it touches. It is bigger than... So the example they're showing me right now in my mind is me explaining this to you has an impact. But when you do this for somebody else, the impact of that permeates way deeper within them and inspires them to do something kind for somebody else. So like that action causes a reaction. So if you chose to do one good conscious act of kindness every day for the month of November, think about how many people that would reach. And then the more people that listen to this sort of energetic challenge from Spirit, the more people that do it, the more drops of kindness that are happening in the world when there's so much turmoil and chaos, that it is helping to change the frequencies everywhere you go. And those small acts of kindness have such a big impact. So Spirit really wanted to bring that through, and I thought that was so neat. I was like, yeah, that is something simple we can do every single day. And like another example of that is, what was it? Like even somebody on, say you have to talk to somebody about your phone or cable company or phone company or something. And normally those conversations are not the best. But what if you chose to make it the best? What if you chose for a minute to stop and say to the person, how you doing today? How you feeling? How's the energy over there? Is it crazy at the call center? Like something so tiny like that, the person will stop and be like, oh, wow, they see me as a human being and not just somebody that's, causing chaos or has to tell them they can't do this or this promotion that they wanted or whatever it is, right? Like you get to be this beautiful, Spirit showing me these beautiful drops of magic. It's almost like golden raindrops, and you get to choose where you drop those throughout the day. And it is just so lovely to see the energetic ripples of that they're showing me in my mind. It's just beautiful. It's kind of like if you see sparkles all around when you see that in the movies and magic is on the way and all of a sudden there's these kind of like gold sparkles that people begin to see. It's like that. That's what happens. So acts of kindness, one good deed a day is really going to benefit not only you, but those around you in November. Okay, and now the other thing Spirit wanted to say, and again, they were very adamant about this, was to talk about noticing divine synchronistic events in connection to the alignments of partnerships. And when they brought this up, I said, wow, like you have all been, and then when I say you, I mean Spirit, like they have been very insistent on this message. And I said, wow, you're bringing it up again. And they said, absolutely we are, because it is getting more and more intense, these converging timelines to bring the right people together for the right things. Again, this can be in business, in romance, in family relationships, best friend relationships, like you name it, all the different kinds. To bring the alignments of these people together is so incredibly important that every month there is more intensity, closer and closer and closer alignments to these things with purpose, because that idea of when two or more are joined, the energy is that much more. It is amplified. I, excuse me, am apparently losing my voice. I think it means I need to stop talking for a little while, but there's just so much to share and I love to share it. So coming back to my point is, with these divine alignments for partnerships brought through beautiful synchronistic events that you could not possibly imagine to create. Like only in retrospect can you see how they came together. These beautiful twists of fate where, you forgot your keys somewhere and at the same time somebody else dropped or left their wallet somewhere and the two of you meet back at this one spot and you just happen to start chatting. Like again, these really neat things that you could not have imagined but can only see in retrospect. is what is being played out now. And this is important because divine pairings, balanced, respectful, cooperative pairings are so on the table for 2024. And so for that to be the case, there needs to be many established ones going into 2024, and that's where this is coming through. And in addition to this, we are seeing the rise of the divine masculine. Now again, I want to be very, very clear that when I'm speaking about the divine masculine, I'm not speaking about men versus women. We all have divine masculine and divine feminine within us. We have polarities, we have action potentials, and we have energies that are more passive. We have very strong, sturdy energies, and then we have ones that are very vulnerable. And they're often described as this divine feminine, masculine energy. Now, many of us used to be in a divine masculine energy that was very reactive and aggressive because it was needed to feel safe. But now we're sitting in an energy where the divine feminine within many of us has risen very, very big, very high, very fully. And it now needs the pairing of the masculine to be in wholeness. It needs that strong, action-oriented, but with consciousness. It needs the consciousness in that energy. Some of us embody more of a divine feminine than we do a divine masculine, but it is not restricted to gender. It really is energetic. And so this is something, this rise of divine masculine, we are seeing happening more and more and more and more. And this is where we are going to see more forward movement in very consciously planned and thought out actions that are for the collective, for the greater good, in benefit of ascension and awakening. And this will be shown in many pairings. So you will have certain pairings of, if I just use two people, but this can be a group, but within these two people, you have a very nice balance of a feminine energy and a masculine energy, regardless of gender, but this beautiful pairing of strength in both that amplify a greater wholeness because the two of them are joined. So it's really, really neat. So if I used a very simple explanation of man and woman, just for the sake of this explanation, again, this is only just to explain. If you have a fully embodied feminine, or woman, sorry, a fully embodied woman who has a balance of her masculine and her feminine, and then you have a fully embodied man who has a balance of his masculine and feminine, you take those two and you pair them together, then you have something absolutely magnetic in its frequency. It is magnetic in that it can attract so much to it, but it can also create so much because it has both forces working. It's like when you have two legs that are walking you forward, the two legs can propel you in any direction you want to go. One leg you have to hop, it's a little bit more tedious. So again, there's this balance of union happening right now because the divine masculine energies within us all is rising. So what that also means for you is, where are you noticing you're desiring to step forward in conscious action? Because this conscious action that has been coming up for us throughout the fall, amplified a lot in October, and now is kind of waiting to be told what to do. This conscious action is often connected to the divine masculine within you. So it's very interesting how this is all coming together. And so I'm very excited to share all of that with all of you. And that is everything I have for the November energy update. So I hope that really helps you stay on track for you, feeling like you are supported, the universe is working in your favor, and that you really recognize that you are meant to be here right now for a reason. You absolutely matter, just as you are right now, listening to these words. You matter, and you are loved by your guides, those around you, and the universe. So thank you for you. So I will leave that with all of you, everyone. Happy beginning of November. May you find that this month helps you make sense of so many things as you review everything that's happened leading up to right now. So I will see you all next week. Have a beautiful one, everyone.